This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, here I want to talk about an important point regarding state. State is an object. In the state, we can save some data, and we know that I think you can just recollect the previous session what we discussed about the state. If the component state changes, the render method will re-renders. This is we discussed earlier. What is the meaning of re-render? For example, we have some value in the state object. For example, this is the state object. You have some value in the state object count 0. You incremented the value. What? Okay, this is the state object. In the render method, what is we will do in the render method? We will display the output. Nothing but it is always talk about the JSX completely. It will display the output to us. Initially, we have 0 of the count. If you can change the or if you can increment the value of the count, then render method should re-render. I mean, it will be called and it will display the value. For example, if this is incremented to 1, it has to update the value as 1, right? Yes, that's the reason. If any of the value in the state, we have only one value right now. You may have 10, 15 values in the state object. So if any of the value got changed, then my render method will render. Maybe first name may change, or last name may change, city may change, and age may change. We don't know what is going to be changed here, but the render method will re-render automatically. Let me show you a practical example. If I can change the state of the value and how the render method will re-render. For this, I'm going to create one file. Okay, let me create one file quickly. Okay, let me take a file with name called counter.js. I want to just implement a click counter, increment the value +1, +1, +1. So I have to display the updated value. Definitely it should be a class component. We know that class component is going to be, to maintain the state, we have to use class component only. Okay, let me do with h1 tag and state demo right here. Let me define constructor. To define the state, we have shortcut keyword rconst, and if we can take the count value 0, this is the value 0. So why we will take state in the constructor? We already know that because the logic we are writing inside a constructor that is going to be available for each and every method of our class methods. If you want to access this count variable inside my JSX, we have to use this dot state dot the variable name count. In the current class we have state object. In the state object we have a variable, and you know, if it is a props, this dot props dot the property name we use it, right? Okay, anyhow, so once it is created, let me go to my app. So here I'm going to load this as a counter.js is the component you created. Okay, let me remove this for a while. Okay, so now I'm just going to refresh the page. Now you can see, if we can refresh, we can see it is loading. 1 minute. It is okay. Fine. Right. Compiling. Sometimes it may be stuck. You can press F5 or any of the key so that it will be continue. Right. It is a 0. Initially, we have the state value 0 and we seen the same. Right. This is what exactly the thing we are having. Okay. Now let me do one thing. I'm going to take a button. This is a button. In this button, I'm going to take something called increment. This is my button. This is my button with the name called increment. Now can we see, on click this increment button, I want to increment the value +1, +1, +1, +1 like this. Okay, right. Generally the same thing we can do in JavaScript also. The same thing we can do here also. Okay, right. Now we can go here. This is the state and this is the thing. Here, how can we bind an event to an element? We know already. So we seen in JavaScript, if this is a button, to this button, we will fire an event on click equal to. So in JavaScript, we will write some function called increment counter or something like this. We will write. This is the JavaScript way. This is a JavaScript way. Now we are in the class and we are in React actually. in React, how can we add the same? This is the button you have in React. This is in JavaScript case. Now in React, now you can see on capital C and D, on click equal to JSX expression. In this expression, we have to call the function this dot increment counter, something like this. Why I am using this keyword here? This is going to be created as a class member. Can you see? Now you can go and define the function here. Now this is the function I'm going to define here. So now you can see how can we access this function into this function. This is a JSX, some other function, render function. This is some other function, one member into another member. How can we access this member into another member? Simply by using this keyword. So you have to bind that event here on click. Now you can see on click C capital, very important, take equal to, take the JSX, inside of it this dot, I'm defining one function with a name called increment counter. Remember here you cannot use parentheses, keep it in mind. But can you see in JavaScript we are using parentheses here, but in React parentheses is not required. Just call the method ending this dot increment counter, that's all. We don't want anything. So now you can check this. Now I'm going to write a alert message just for the confirmation whether this is getting called or not. Hello, I'm just going to check this and refresh the page. And if you can check this, now check this, refresh the page. Now you can see I'm clicking this increment. Now alert is coming. So the function is calling. For example, unfortunately, or if you can provide the parenthesis here, remember carefully, without clicking the button, this function will get called automatically. Now you can see the alert is coming automatically. Now you can see it is not closing actually. If you can load the page without clicking the button, the alert is coming. Okay, so then what we need to do, you cannot use the parenthesis here at the end of it. Just leave this right now. If you can check this, we don't have any problem. When you are clicking the button, then only event will be fired. This is good idea. Okay, but here we have to increment the value. I told you if the value is incremented, whether this is going to be works or not, that we need to check it, right? For example, what generally people will do, how can we access this variable here? Now simply this dot state dot count, this is the way of accessing the value here, equal to, I am writing like this, and this dot state dot count plus 1. This is the way of incrementing the value. I'm trying like this. But if you can click on it, is there anything happen? Now I think you may see an error also in the console. Oh, no error. Okay, very happy. We don't have any error, but I am incrementing. But are you getting anything here? No, you are not getting anything. So here I have warning also. Do not mutate the state directly. Right? Can you see? You cannot mutate the state directly. Use the set state. They're saying that if you want to update the state, very important thing. So this is that if it is a JavaScript case, this will work 100% without having any problem. So if you want to update the state, what you need to do, you can use a predefined method called set state. This is the set state method. So how can we update the state in React class component? How can we update the React state in the class component? In the class component, answer is by using set state method. By using set state method, this is the predefined method, Andy. This is the predefined method. Uh, so to this method, we have to pass an object as a parameter. In this object, we can update the state. Can you see? This won't work actually, this scenario. Let me keep this into comment. Okay, that will never work. If it is a JavaScript case, it may works for us. But in our React, so we cannot update the state directly. So to update the state, we have a predefined method called set state. And let me go for this method. This dot set state. In the current class, we have the method called set state. This is the predefined method. It may be defined in the component class. Okay, so to this method, we have to pass object. What you want to update, right? You have to update count variable. So what is the current count value? This dot state dot count plus 1. This is the way of updating the state. And can you check this? This is an object. In this object, we have to update the state like this. Okay, now This is an object, the object state will be updated. Now you can, oh, it should not semicolon, it should be leave empty. It because it's an object now, we have to take comma only, but one value, right? We don't want to take comma here. Now you can check this. I'm refreshing. Can you see the value is getting incremented? I told you one thing. When value is incrementing, the okay. Earlier you taken one scenario, kada? So let me do one thing. Let me comment this. Earlier you taken one scenario. What is this? This dot state dot count equal to this dot state dot count plus one. This is what we taken. Okay. Let me do one thing. Console.log. In this, I want to print this only. This dot state dot count. Okay. I'm printing the count. COUNT count. Okay. Done. If you can refresh the page, can you see in the console, I'm incrementing the value. Can you see, Andy, the value is incrementing in the console? Or do you observe values? But why the updated value is not displaying here? Because you have to call the render method na, right? So render method should call automatically. Value is incrementing, but the incremented value is not displaying here. Remember carefully. So what we need to do, the state value is getting updated, but that is not displaying on the JSX. That's the reason it will increment the value. It is incrementing the value, but it's not displaying the value in the JSX, right? I told you one thing. Let me do one thing. Console.log of render. I'm writing simply a message render render. Now you can see for every change in the state, the render method will be called. And now you can see initially render call display the 0. Now we can increment the value. Oh, I think I have to uncomment this code, right? Let me uncomment this code, right? Now can we see render method is called. You can click increment, render method is calling, render method is calling. How many times I'm clicking, that many times the render method is re-rendering. And I mean, this method will call automatically if there is any change in the state object. Any change, anything, you can increment the value, you can decrement the value, and whatever it may be, the render method will re-render automatically. That's the reason I told you. So if we can go with this scenario, value is incrementing, but the incremented value is not affected in the output. It is not re-rendering. So who is the responsible person to display the data? Always render method is the responsible person to display the data. So when there is a change in the state, this render method is going to be called again and again and again, again and again. This is what exactly the concept of increment counter. So like this, Sunday, you can take decrement counter, whatever it may be, but render method will call. Now you can increment the value, you can decrement the value, render method will call automatically. Now you can see, I will take one more button, two more buttons I am taking. Let me take this as a decrement counter. Let me take this as a reset counter. I'm going to take the function like this, reset counter. So this is going to be reset, Andy. This is going to be reset, reset. This is going to be decrement. Okay, I'm taking like this. Can you see now? You can see there are three buttons. If I click increment, value is incrementing. If you can click decrement, value should be decremented, and reset, it should be 0. Then what I will do, define these three functions to it. And right now I'm going to define, so decrement counter equal to something like this. You can go and define this. Okay, same, Andy, this dot set state is a predefined method. To this method you have to pass object as a parameter. In this object we have to decrement the count value, and the count colon this dot state dot count minus 1. This is what you need to do. Okay now, right? Now you can check this. Increment getting incremented, decrement. Oh, it is giving me an error, Andy. What is the reason? So this dot, oh, spell mistake maybe here, right? So okay, you can check this. Now I'm going to increment the value getting incremented. If you can decrement, yes, value is also decremented. Can you see? When value is decrementing also, render method is calling. If I'm telling you, if there is a change, that may be an increment or that may be a decrement, the render method should re-render. So finally we have one more thing called reset. So what is the method? We have reset counter. So what we will do here, we have to update the state with 0. So this dot set state, again for everything, this is the method we have. This dot set state is a predefined method. To this we have to pass object as a parameter. Here I want to set count as 0 only. That's all. We don't want to do anything. Now you can just go there and you can increment the value. Now you can see, and you can decrement the value. If you can click reset, now you can see render method will re-render, because you are changing the value of the state. If you change it, for example, if you can change the value 1,000 times, render method will call 1,000 times, because it is the person to display the data to you. So whatever the data is updated, the data should be displayed on the screen, right? Right. That's why the render method will re-render for every change in the state of the component. Any value in the state, I don't know. Your state may contain 10, 15 properties. Any of the state value get changed, the render method will re-render automatically. So this is what exactly the concept. I want to show you one more scenario. There is a concept called prev state. What is the meaning of previous state? So we are incrementing the value. So for example, right now, what is the value right now? You can see I'm incrementing the value 10. What is the previous state of the 10? 9, right? How can we access the previous state and all such a kind of, and we are incrementing the value, but this is okay. But there is a small problem with this type of scenario. Okay, this is working fine for us. Okay, this is working fine for us. Let me show you one small scenario. We may have some problem there, and how can we solve the problem? Okay, let me do one thing. I'm going to create one more file with a name called counter1.js. Let me create a new file. Let me create a new component. This is a class component RCE. Yeah. Here, let us remove the default export here. Right. So in this, I'm going to take state demo counter one. I'm writing state demo counter one file. Let me go here. Let me import this counter one.js. Okay. Right. Counter. I'm hiding the counter. Right. Now you can see. Same story here. Whatever you have implemented, I will do the same, but it's a small scenario. Now you can see I'm going to write this as a button, button, button open, button close, increment. Okay, on click equal to this dot, same and nothing change, increment counter. Okay, this is the function we have here. I'm taking our const constructor to define the state, right? So I'm taking counter value 0. You can take any variable, any property there, counter 0. On click the increment button. Let me define the function increment counter, fat arrow function here. What I want to do, this dot set state, update the state, same program you written there. So here this time we have counter, na? Okay, counter, this dot state dot counter plus 1. Okay, this should be displayed on the screen right now. You can see this dot state dot counter. In the JSX we have to display the value. Now you can check this state demo counter one increment value is getting incremented. This is very nice. We don't have any problem. Now you can see. Now I'm taking one more button. You can see this. What is that one more button? Increment by 5. I'm taking this Sunday. Increment by 5 ante, so by clicking this the value should be incremented by 5 times. Increment, you can increment the value, it should increment. Now if I can click increment by 5 plus 5 plus 5 10, it has to come. Okay, now that's what I need to check it. So now you can check this. I'm writing increment counter by 5. I'm writing the function like this and the increment counter by 5. Function name is your choice completely. You can take any name of the function here. Right, this is going to be done. Okay, right handy. So I'm writing a for loop. Let I equal to 0, because 5 times I have to iterate. I equal to 1, you can take I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, and I plus plus. This is what I taken. Okay, now right. This dot set state. In this you can update the state. Now you can see counter, this dot set state, sorry, this dot state dot counter plus 1, and this dot state dot counter counter plus 1. That's all. And okay, now you can check this. This we are updating 5 times, right? Okay, now you can check this. I'm refreshing the page. You can increment this. Now you have 3 now. If I click increment by 5, you have to get 8, but you can see the problem. You are getting 4 only. So this is we are expecting? No. You can increment the value. Now this is 8. If I can increment by 5, it has to get 13 actually, but you are getting 9. It is incrementing plus 1 only. So in this point of time, what we will do, we will use the concept called proof state. Let me comment this. Let me rewrite the same story, the state updation. Now can we see how we are going to do it? Can you see the same for loop I'm doing here? In the for loop, same, let I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 5, sorry, I equal to 1 kada. So I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, and I plus plus something. This is what we have. Now can we see? In this set state method, this dot set state. As of now, you passed an object, right, to update the state. But this time, to this set state method, I will pass a callback function. Remember carefully, what is a callback function? I will write separately here. So this dot set state, can you check this? This is the as of now you worked. Okay, na? This is the count colon this dot state dot counter, something like you worked with right now as of now. Okay, now right, can you see the same? I am going to work in another way. To the set state method, I am passing a callback function as a parameter. Now you passed an object as a parameter. The second way, if you can check this dot set state, all of it to see. In this, you have to pass a callback function like this. This is the callback function, right? Okay, here you have to update the state and now you can check this. In the callback function, you can pass proof state as a parameter. Proof state as a parameter, you can take any parameter there. Proof state is not any mandatory thing. Okay, so now you can see we can write counter, count here, counter colon proof state dot counter plus 1. This is the way you have to write only. This dot state is not required. Why? Because in this proof state we have already previous value plus 1, previous value plus 1, previous value plus 1. Now you can write the same logic there. Now you can see, now to this I'm passing callback function. To this we have proof state as a parameter. Now you can see in this I'm updating the state only. Now you can check this, counter colon proof state dot counter plus 1 only. But one thing remember, I taken the parameter as proof state, right? Proof state is not any predefined. In place of the proof state, you can take any value. For example, my state, right? My state, last state, whatever it may be you want, you can take it variable. So of your choice completely. So I taken proof state. It may be give some meaningful. That's the reason I went like this Sunday. Now you can check this. If you can refresh the page, earlier we clicked, so it is fine. If I click this, it should get 9 and can you see now this is okay. So this is some best scenario where we can do the things clear and okay na. So this is incremented and this is increment by 5. So whatever the value you have, it is 43, 48 and 53, something like the values are getting incremented. Okay, this is good thing, right? Okay, now okay, now this is one scenario. So Esther, in the previous program you written the state like this na, in the counter file. Can you see in the counter file you written the state normally
Sir,
you written? Yeah,
sir, this increment by 5, right? Directly I
mm.
could have done this dot state plus 5, right there.
Yes, that you can do, that you can do, but every iteration I want to do in this point of time, definitely we can go like this. That's also valid. If you can write just by plus 5 this dot state, I mean you can write like this also. Let me write here, good idea. Here what you asked me, the same logic we can write here also, no? This is the same logic we can write. Now you can check this is plus 5 also we can write. But when we are writing sometimes in the loops, sometimes also in the loops also we have to write. Loop will always, for example, you have an array. Iterate the array means you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only, not plus 5 plus 5. In this point of time, every value in the array we have to update it to the state, means definitely you have to write the previous state and current state, something like this. Okay, that is a
Sir,
good
can you show
scenario.
that? Can you show that loop once more, sir? That loop where the proof state went. I just add some down.
So this is the loop we have. In the loop only I'm updating the state. We can write like this, we can write like that also, we don't have any problem.
But sir, how that value is getting to the room that five? If it is to current value is five, this dot
Mm.
state will give that four value of five there, right? Then it will loop five times. Is that the way how it works?
See, forget about it.
Increment.
Normally if you can print this, you will get I equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6. Loop is iterating 5 times, that's all.
Correct.
Loop is iterating 5 times. And here in the loop I am writing, I'm not see, can you see, you define the variable I na, I in the loop. Am I
Hmm.
using anywhere I variable in this updating state? No. This
No.
state update will call 5 times. Okay, na
Hmm.
state update will call 5 times. So in the while
Hmm.
it is calling 5 times repeatedly, it will hold the previous value of the state. So previous value 0 or 1. Okay, 1 plus 1. So this is previous state. After that previous state will be second loop, it will be 2. Previous state will be 2. 2 plus 1, it will be 3. After that previous state will be 3, and it will be state 3 plus 1, it will be 4, like this. So it will be iterated like this. It will hold the previous state value to the previous state. It will hold the current value plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 we are adding.
Hmm. Okay.
Still getting confused?
No, and I understood, sir. This dot set state will be having the current value of four, whichever has been incremented. Then the
No.
loop will iterate five times, right?
5 times, yes. So, but actually we are not using this value anywhere in this updating state, right? We are just
Ah,
iterating the loop, that's all. So iterating
okay.
loop. So if you are writing without this, what is going to be happen? You are getting only one. We are not getting the 5, right? Now you can see earlier, this is the logic you written. The same logic you written without previous state as a parameter. Directly you written the previous logic. This is the logic you written. Can you see this logic and this logic? Compare both the logics. So in this, we are not passing anything. But in this point of time, what is going to be happen? Now it has to be 7, but it is getting 3 only. Can you see? So this is,
Correct, correct.
even you are in the loop, it is repeating in 5 times, but you are getting plus 1 only. You are not getting the plus 5. That's the reason we have to maintain the previous state value and plus 1. Previous state dot counter plus 1 previous state. And this dot state is not required here. So because this is set state having a parameter called state. That is, we call it as a previous state. Previous state is 0 plus 1 1. 0 we have, sorry, right? We have 0. This 0 will be available inside the previous state value initially. 0 plus 1 1. So again 1 is updated now. 1 will be saved into the state, that is the previous state. Previous state 1 plus 1 2. Now it is going to be 2, and here
The
previous
previous
state
state
will be 2.
is it is not a keyword, right? That is anything can be there, right? My
Anything,
anything I
you
can
can
put.
take anything. Yes, I will take this as a only state. You want only state, you can take only state, no problem. That is of your choice. Any variable. If you have still confusion, you can take x. You can take x dot counter, something like this also. We can take. That's not any predefined word there. It will still work. Still, it will work
Mhm.
if you can go like this. Okay. Variable name could be your choice, but the set state method have a callback function with one parameter. The parameter is nothing but the current state. What is that parameter? That is the name of the parameter is your choice completely. Exactly, you can check it. Okay, now you can
Okay.
increment and it is getting, and you can write by 5 and you are getting something like this. Okay, this will be works for us, right? Maybe you will understand. You may be have a little bit confusion here, but wait for some time, you will see the clear things. So especially when we are updating the numbers, definitely we have to take the situation like this. Okay, we can do one more scenario. Inline and inline incrementation. We are writing a function every time, right? Let me do one thing as a counter2.js. Let me create a file with class component, right? RCE. 1 minute. So here, let us remove the default export. I will show you For every value we are incrementing the value, for every incrementing decrementing we are writing a separate function, right? We can do in inline also. Let me define constructor. In this I'm taking this counter colon 0. Right, now can we see we can display the value here, right? Okay, h1 tag open, h1 tag close, counter this dot, sorry, take the JSX, this dot state dot counter. Okay, done. Just you can go and import the value here, counter 2. Let us remove this. This is going to be counter 2. So let me, if you want you can keep the both, no problem. Counter 1 also I want to keep here, counter 1. Both also we can keep, but let me use a separator for HR as an horizontal line. So this is counter 2 now. Okay, counter 2. Let me take this as a counter 2. Let us refresh the page and we can get the above is counter. This is the counter 1 component. This is counter 2 component. So we don't have any problem. You can define the same variables in counter 2 and counter 1. That is the file belongs to separate na. The state belongs to one component state will never affect other component state. And when you are see here also we have counter. Here also I'm going to take the counter variable. So we don't have any problem. So it is giving 0 na. Now you can see it is good. But if I can increment this is counter 2 na. I'm incrementing, but is there any change in this value? There is no change. That is different and this is different because this is in one file. This is in one file. The same state object you taken, this dot state dot counter, this dot state dot counter here also, but that is not affected, Andy, because state is inside the component, that is individual to the component. One state, if you have a state in the one component, you are updating that state, the state will never affected in the other component. Okay, the component is different, this component is different completely. So in the counter 2 component, let me have some buttons here. This time I don't want to write increment. Okay, this is increment, and on click now you can see inline. How can we write? Some people will write this as an inline also. On click equal to, earlier we written this dot increment counter or something like this we written. So this time I don't want to write like this. I want to write the function directly here. This is the way of writing the function, and so here you can write this dot set state directly. In this set state, take an object. So you can take counter colon this dot sets this dot state dot counter plus 1, and this dot state dot count counter plus 1. Directly we can write like this also. Unnecessary. Why should I write a function if we can feel? So if you have more handling logic, we can write the function and write that logic we can write inside of it. It is simply an incrementing value, right? So we can write in inline also like this. Now you can check this, counter 2 is incrementing. If you can click this counter, that is different, and this is the different component, that is a different component. You want to go for decrement, now you want to go for decrement. Now you can see this is decrement means -1, and this is going to be decrement. I'm taking something called decrement. Now you can check this, it is incrementing and this is also decrementing. If you can click the reset button, yes, we can do the reset also. Now you can see in place of this, see how the shortcut we used completely. Previously using this program counter 1, for everything we define a function, increment counter and increment by 5. And if you can see the counter file completely, you can see we define 3 functions, right? 3 functions we define for 3 buttons. But in this counter 2 example, I'm not defining anything. Everything is simply was like this, and it's inline. So only thing, if you have complex logic in the function, then you can go for separate function. I mean, on click this button, you want to implement 10 15, right? 10 15 number of lines of logic, then you can write a separate function. Because I don't have anything here, simply one line of code na. That's the reason I'm writing this into inline. So you can check this one more time. I'm writing here in the page, you have a button, this is a button simply. So on click, now you can check this. On these syntaxes we have to practice very well, and otherwise we will forget the syntaxes. Okay, every syntax you have to practice. This is the thing, right? So in this JSX, this is a callback function directly. On click, this function will be executed. This function will update the state. This dot state. To this state function, we have to pass an object counter colon this dot state dot counter plus one, and that's all you have to take like this. Nothing difference. Whatever the logic you have written here, the same logic we can copy paste, and in the counter you written this logic now. This is the logic you written, right? Copy the same logic, copy the same logic, add the logic into the function. That's all. We don't want to do anything. If you have any confusion, so this is you written manually, right? So whatever the logic we have in the function, the same logic we will copy here. Now you can see I'm doing one more time. Now you can check. This is the logic you written. Remove this logic. I'm going to remove up to here. So this is all you written, right? This is the JSX. In the JSX, copy the code as it is. Whatever the code you have there, you can copy the code that will work for you as it is, as we expected. All right? Yeah. So this is how the things are going to be works for us, Andy. Whatever the logic we have there up to here. So this is not required. This is not required. So we are taking this as a callback function, and it will be just passed into the thing. That's all, Andy. So we don't want to do anything here, right? Okay. So I think he's missing something. I think you have to close this JSX. State object is 1 minute. I think you have to take like this, man. Okay, this is all about the thing. Okay, check this. Exactly how the logic will be implemented here. This is the callback function. The callback function is going to be added to the things like this, Sunday. Okay, now just check this how we have implemented. Perfect. 1, 2. Okay, this is fine. How we have written the logic here, that we need to check it. Okay, check this. You can copy the code like this, or you can write the code like this, no problem, right? So this is what exactly the way of updating state. The main aim of this is here, main aim of this program says, if there is a change in the state, component render method will re-render. That's the main aim of this concept. Okay, right. The next is here, React lifecycle methods. This is the next thing we need to discuss. Lifecycle methods. This I will talk about tomorrow. So meanwhile, tomorrow I will share you one document with you and try to go through the document. This is the document I have already written. I will share you this document to you tomorrow. So if you can just go through this, I think you will get an idea how exactly the state of the component will be updated. So because I don't want to start this now, tomorrow I will start this mounting. There are 3 lifecycle methods actually, if possible. Okay. Okay, let me share you tomorrow, no problem. I will explain you what are the life cycle methods, what is the purpose of life cycle method and all, and both we can see tomorrow. We have 3 phases actually, 4 phases also there, but we have to see about mounting, life cycle, mounting, unmounting, updating, error handling. There are 4 phases are there. Tomorrow we can discuss 2 phases. Next day we can discuss 2 phases. I think we can complete the life cycle. These life cycle methods are available in class component only. We cannot have life cycle methods in functional component. So how we can implement the same logic, whatever you can do in the class, the same logic we have to implement functional also now. For that we have a concept called hooks that